Really, I can write a song on my own. I wrote Vehicle on my own. I wrote it for a young lady who I was trying to win back. And there's always some kind of motivation behind a song, and she was my motivation.
It's usually a woman.
Yeah, usually a woman. And it was. And I did win her back. There's a pretty good story behind that. But I wasn't really a collaborator as much as I was when I met 38 Special. And John Kolodner, who's the famous A&R man with Atlantic, he says, Jim, you've got to write with 38 Special. They need songs. And I said, really? Okay, fine, And we just sat there. Me and Don Barnes and Jeff Carlisi, we just stared at each other like deers in the headlight, like, what do we do now, It was the first session we ever had, and finally broke the ice. Don says, well, I got a title. I go, what's the title? And he goes, Hold On Loosely. Yeah, but don't let go. And Jeff goes, well, I got this riff. Well, let's hear it. He goes, I go, that could work.
So did it just write itself?
It really did. You go in kind of a trance state at that point. And before you knew it, we had the stock of the song. They thought the lyric was done, and I went into the bedroom and I said, no, this is not done. And I go and I rip up that page and start over again. So sometimes you just got to reinvent it. But by the end of the night, we had almost the whole song done.
So a question about that. They say good songs are written, great songs rewritten. And do you have to get in there and kind of wordsmith things out?
Absolutely. But there is a point of diminishing returns. And sometimes I go back a few pages in my notebook and I realize, wait, man, I'm thinking way too much. It's too intelligent,
Yeah.
You got to keep it raw enough.
Yeah, I've heard it said that a good song is never finished, but it's done.
That's good.
Or maybe the vice versa. It's never done, but you just have to finish it.
Well, that's true. And if it's not a hit, you are finished.
Now, do you guys worry about that, or do people coming in the listening room worry about hits, or is this just kind of the heartfelt song just trying to get out emotions?
I don't personally. I just love to write. To me, it's just more about getting whatever idea that I've got out on paper, or sitting in a room collaborating with guys like Jim Peterik, that it's just like we sit down, we don't even know what we're going to write about that day. We just start talking, and that's what happened the last time we wrote together. It's just, I think if you sit down and you're like, okay, so-and-so is looking for hits, so we got to write a hit for this band that's in the studio right now. I mean, you lose that creativity because you're trying to chase something to tunnel vision, I think.
So Jim, was that how 38 Special was? The A&R guys coming to you, and they need hits. They don't just need songs.
Well, that's true. And to some extent, I don't totally agree with that. I agree that you can't just fabricate something, it usually comes out bad. But I do like goals. When Sylvester Stallone, I get home from, doing some shopping and whatever, and I play the answer machine, and I hear one from my sister, hear one from my buddy, and then, hey, yo, Jim, give me a call. It's Sylvester Stallone. That's a nice answering machine you got there. And I'm going, yeah, right, whatever, And I call him back. If it is, it is. If it ain't, I've been, what do they call that?
Punked.
I've been punked. Stallone did not punk me. He goes, hey, Jim, I like your band, Survivor. I want that sound. I want that street sound that you guys got, I've got this new movie called Rocky 3. Can you help me out? And I go, is the Pope Polish? Yeah, I think I could do that. So he sends us the rough cut of the movie, and me and Frankie rent this big old Betamax Pro and put it on my kitchen counter. The FedEx arrives, we stick it in, and man, we just saw, Mr. T rising up, and Stallone getting soft, and doing Visa commercials and stuff. And underneath that scene that we're supposed to write to, there's Queen singing, bum, 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 another one bites the dust. And I'm going, Frankie, he's got a song already. And so I called Stallone. He goes, oh, no, we can't use that one. We couldn't get the rights to it.
Wow.
So every day when I say my prayers, I thank Freddie Mercury for that one.
For turning that one down.
Yeah. But, I had my Les Paul around my neck, and once we turned the sound down, I just started going, that muted guitar thing. And then I see the punches being thrown, and I just went. and wait a little while. And every drummer asked me, why did you wait for that one time? I said, he wasn't punching until then.
That's amazing.
See, stories like this is the kind of stuff I imagine you can get at the listening room. You're not going to get them at every club because every club isn't really about the song and the process.
That's what we want. Yeah, we want people to come and tell their stories behind the songs. And, I've heard Jim tell that story dozens of times. And every time I hear it, you still get chills, and it's cool because you hear the stuff like that, and you hear about people going in a room and they have no idea what they're going to write about, and they see a flower outside of the window, and then, Corey Batten, that plays a lot, writes a hit song about red roadside wildflower, stuff like that, and then the stories like, Jim getting calls from Sylvester Stallone. And I think if I got calls from Sylvester Stallone, I would have goals in a writing room too.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
That's
I don't have 38 Special and Sylvester Stallone calling my cell phone up. But
just wait.
So I want to talk about the pressure because you've got Sylvester Stallone waiting. That's his baby. It's Rocky, and you've got to back it up with something that he likes. You've got hits, and they want you to do another hit. How do you deal with the pressure, Jim?
Really, it's what I lived for. Pressure and me are good friends. We were on the road with REO, and we had the big hit with Eye of the Tiger, and Stallone calls on the road and says, we need another one. It's Rocky IV. It's a Russian guy and this and that. He sends us the script, me and Frankie around the pool with REO Speedwagon, and we're reading the script, and we're getting excited. That's the kind of pressure I like. Went to our room. We had a little Wurlitzer piano set up there, and just started, in the burning hot, just about to burst. By the time the tour was over, we had the song, went in the studio and recorded it, and showed it to Stallone. This time he was a little more critical, though. And he made us change some things, and because originally it was in the human heart, just about to burst. And human heart, what is this, a biology
Sounds
class?
medical,
Yeah, and he's right, So anyway, it's funny. I love pressure.
So that was your suggestion for Burning Heart, or was it his?
Actually, I think Frankie came up with the word burning heart as opposed to human heart, which was mine.
I think it's cool to see somebody like Sylvester Stallone or any successful people, and we've seen one dimension of them. But the guy obviously had a vision, and he went for it. A lot of people know this. I guess he wrote the script for Rocky.
He did.
And he was like the guy who championed it through.
And he's still fighting to this day. He's got Rocky on Broadway now, which I went to see with my wife, and he couldn't get arrested with that script in America. He had to go to Germany and get it produced. And now it's a huge hit in America on Broadway.
That's a great point, I think, about the music business. And Chris, I'd love your thoughts on this, because you've got a lot of writers. They come in, and nobody knows who they are.
Right.
And it's guys like you and Chase who champion them. And then you've probably seen it happen a couple weeks later, a lot of people are there. Yeah. And then even more. I mean, it doesn't take much for somebody to take off in the music business.
Right.
So any stories about that, of guys that you've worked with that?
Yeah, I mean,
develop?
we've seen a lot on both sides, writers and artists. As far as the artist side of things, guys like Kip Moore and Florida Georgia Line. I mean, those are two examples of good buddies of mine that used to play the listening room all the time, and we were just buds. I used to room with Florida Georgia Line guys in Key West all the time for the Songwriters Festival, and they were going to the radio station then playing their stuff before anybody knew them. And Kip coming in, and Kip was a songwriter. Like he wasn't going after the artist career; he was a songwriter. And just watching those guys grow up, and now they're both huge. And then guys like Guthrie that are still kind of going through that process, but they're making it all the way to, on just the songwriting side of things. I mean, Shane McAnally, Josh Osborne. I mean,
Phil
those
Barton's
guys
been playing listening room forever.
Yeah, and you watch those guys just like they beat the streets. Phil Barton's a great example.
And it's exciting for us when they get a cut. I mean,
it's really
like,
cool
we
to
had
build
something.
Yeah.
Every time Phil Barton comes in, he's like, I got a cut on New Sarah Evans. We're just thrilled to death because he's been playing there since before I was even
And this
there.
is a guy that played 5-6 nights a week, sometimes 2 or 3 shows a day, and just beat it up, trying to do it. And then all of a sudden, he has a huge hit with Lee Brice, and just watching guys like that become successful it's awesome.
Jim, I'm going to take it way back with the song that started your career. You mentioned it earlier. It's called Vehicle. This is Ides of March. The song is Vehicle. More from Jim Peterik, Chris Blair, and Chase Armstrong when we come back on Music Business Radio.
Hey, well, I'm a friendless stranger in the black sedan. Won't you hop inside my car? I got pictures, got candy, I'm a lovable man, and I can take you to the nearest star. I'm your vehicle, baby. I'll take you anywhere you want to go. I'm your vehicle, woman. By now I'm sure you know that I love you, I need you, I want you, got to have your child. Great God in heaven, you know I love you.
Hey, this is Emerson Hart, and you're listening to Music Business Radio, your backstage pass to the biz.
Jurassic 5, live in concert. We're not ballin', we take it back to the days of yes, shawlin'. Tuesday, July 29th at Marathon Music Works with special guests Dilated Peoples, Beat Junkies, and MC Supernatural.
Friends for a long time, a very close friend of mine. Love you like you was mine, but respect the friend.
Tickets for Jurassic 5 are on sale now at the venue box office, by phone at 877-4FLY-TICKS or at marathonmusicworks.com. Jurassic 5 live at Marathon Music Works.
I love you when you're singing that song, and I got a lump in my throat, 'cause you're gonna sing the words wrong.
Hi, this is Vance Joy, and you're listening to Music Business Radio.
This is Music Business Radio, your backstage pass to the music business. I'm David Hooper, your host. I've got Chris Blair from Listening Room Cafe. Chase Armstrong is joining him. And Jim Peterik, you know him as a member of Survivor. He's written several hit songs. Jim, we've been talking about some of them. 38 Special, that was a great story. Cheap Trick, Sammy Hagar, Doobie Brothers, and others. I want to know, guys, and you write together, where do songs come from?
Yeah, I think it just depends on the day, for me, I'm always writing. I wake up in the middle of the night and I'll have a hook in my mind, and I sometimes I don't even remember it. I just wake up and I see like I've written down something, it's just.
So, and you do write it down when it comes to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time. There's also a lot of times where I don't. I'll be somewhere and I'll hear somebody say something, or a lot of times I'm listening to music and I'll hear just a phrase in that song that I'm like, oh wow, like that phrase specifically could be a great song on its own.
But do you remember it?
And I don't write it down,
right.
and especially if I've had a couple beers or something, then it's like really bad, and I'm like, man, that was a great idea, but it's lost. But that's part of it.
So how about it, Jim? Do you write down the ideas? Have a recorder you carry around with you?
I'm the most, I guess they would call it, obsessive with that. Yes, right now it's an iPhone, just a voicemail thing. But in the old days, it was the handheld recorder. I have whole cabinets full of cassettes, all labeled, all dated. I mean, literally, I got a book coming out, autobiography. I have a photo of me standing next to the cassettes. There must be, 3,000 cassettes, all labeled. I have the original Eye of the Tiger writing session, because you'll never know. You think you're going to remember something, you don't. Then again, there's those songs that are unfinished that you're unable to finish at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to live a little longer, experience a little more, and then, that's a great idea. I can finish that now. In a way, you become your own collaborator when that happens.
How do you know the good ideas from the not so good ideas? Just as humans, we've all experienced opportunities that seem like a good idea at the time, and I think songs kind of work that way. But how do you know what's good and maybe what should be kind of weighted on, like you're talking about, Jim?
Well, yeah, if I could answer that one. You don't always. The song Vehicle, we had that on a 4-song demo. We put it last. We did not value that song at all. When Warner Brothers heard it, they said, those first 3 are pretty bad, but that last song, that's the stuff. Now, Eye of the Tiger, we wrote 2 songs for that movie, for Rocky 3. One was a little thing called Eye of the Tiger. That was called Ever Since the World Began. Ultimately, that wasn't used in the movie, but before my dad passed away, the last time I saw him, I said, Dad, I wrote 2 songs for Rocky 3, and of course, I did not play him Eye of the Tiger. I thought that was just some kind of throwaway. I played him Ever Since the World Began. You do not always know what's going to ring with people. Maybe it was too simple to write. Vehicle, I wrote in 30 minutes. Eye of the Tiger, a day and a half. Sometimes you don't value the ones that you don't labor over, and yet those might be the best.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a song. It's called Blind Man's Son. I'd love to know the story behind it.
Well, I knew I was going to write with Chris. I know he's a musical guy, and we had a lot in common. And I just had a title, really. Blind Man's Son. I didn't know really what it meant, but I